Hello and welcome to Math 2 Cypress High School Summer Program. Right now we'll be covering Unit 6B, Volume and Area, and specifically Section 2, the area of polygons. Now there are a few different types of polygons, or a few different polygons we're going to be covering in this section. The first four are a rectangle, a parallelogram, a triangle, and a trapezoid. They all four have different formulas for the area, and we're going to have to find the base and height of each figure to be able to find the area of each. Now what I want you to do is spend some time with me writing down the formula for all four. The area of a rectangle we'll cover first. That is A equals base times height. You might have heard of the area of a rectangle as length times width. That's also correct. Base and height, length and width on a rectangle specifically are interchangeable. I like to think of the area of a rectangle as base times height because it flows a lot better with parallelogram, triangle, and trapezoid than length times width. So B stands for the base of the rectangle, and H stands for the height of the rectangle, and base and height are going to be found in all of these polygons that we'll cover in this section. The next one is a parallelogram, very similar to a rectangle. Area equals base times height. Again, base and height. We multiply them together to find the area of a parallelogram. The only difference between the rectangle and the parallelogram are where we find the base and the height. The next polygon we're going to cover is the triangle. This has a little bit tougher formula to use. It is area equals 1/2 times the base times the height of the triangle. So that 1/2 is being thrown in there for the area of a triangle, but it's still fairly simple. And the last formula we're going to cover is a trapezoid. That is A equals, A for area, 1/2 times the height of the trapezoid times, and inside parentheses we're going to add two different bases together. We'll call them base 1 and base 2. Now we're going to have to label on a trapezoid the height and both bases, base 1 and base 2, and plug them into the formula for the area. So right away we're going to jump right into these problems. The very first step on any problem using the area of a polygon is to recognize what type of polygon we're looking at. So we're going to need to go through each problem and say, what kind of polygon is this? Is this a trapezoid? Is it a triangle? Is it a rectangle? Or is it a parallelogram? Problem number 45 is a trapezoid. A trapezoid is going to have two bases. They're going to be parallel to each other. If you notice, the top and the bottom of this trapezoid will never touch. Those will be my bases, and the height is what connects the two bases. So base 1, height, base 2. We'll label all of those and plug them into this formula. Area equals 1/2 times height times base 1 plus base 2. We're going to take a look at problem number 46 and do this problem together. This problem is a parallelogram. Number 46 is a parallelogram. The area of a parallelogram is equal to base times height. We have that formula up on the page above. Now I have to label my base and my height before I can plug them into the formula. I need to find them. On all of these polygons, the base and the height will always form a 90-degree angle. You can see a 90-degree angle right there. The base and height will always form the 90-degree angle. So my base of this polygon will be this bottom line right here, and this bottom line is labeled as 7.7. So my base is 7.7. I'm going to label that with a little b. And my height makes up the other side of the 90-degree angle. Notice how the yellow and green line form this 90-degree angle right there. My height is 7. So now that I have my base and my height, I can plug them directly into the formula. A equals my base, which is 7.7, times my height, which is 7. And we can type that into a calculator to find our actual area. 7.7 times 7 equals 53.9. 53.9, and we are in kilometers squared. I also want to take a look at a trapezoid problem. Those can be pretty tough to solve if you don't understand how to find the height, base 1 and base 2 of a trapezoid. So problem number 55 is a trapezoid. I'm going to just write up top so I know what I'm looking at. Trapezoid. And I like to start by writing the formula for the area of a trapezoid so I know what I'm looking for. I can look back at the last page to find the area formula. It's a equals 1/2 times height times, I'll add the bases, base 1 plus base 2. So I have three different things I need to find. I need to find the height of my trapezoid, and then also the two bases. I'll label one as base 1 and one as base 2. Now my bases of a trapezoid are always parallel lines, so I'm going to look at this line right here on the top and bottom. Those lines will never touch each other. They are parallel, and those are what I'm going to label as my base 1 and base 2. Now my height is always the line that connects the two bases. So you can see this dotted line right here. That is my height. It connects the two bases. So the height always connects the two parallel lines, and the parallel lines are always the bases. So now I have my height, which is 7.6, my base 1, which is 5.3, and my base 2, which is 10.9. I can begin to find the area by plugging them into the formula. A equals 1/2 times my height, which is 7.6, times, in parentheses, I have my base 1 of 5.3 plus my base 2, 10.9. So I'm going to begin by plugging all the little pieces into the formula, my height, my base 1, and my base 2. And now, on a trapezoid, we have to do one extra step to actually solve for the area. We have to add these numbers together first. Once we add those, then we can multiply everything in a calculator. So I need to add these two numbers together first. So I'm going to be left with 5.3 plus 10.9 is 16.2. So I'm going to have A equals 1/2 times 7.6 times 16.2. And I can type that directly into a calculator to find my actual answer. 1/2 is 1 divided by 2, and then we multiply 7.6 times 16.2 to get our final answer of 61.56. Now I always round my answer to the nearest tenth. That's the spot where the 5 is. So I look one number past. This 6 tells me to round my 5 up. It's bigger than 5 itself. So 61.6 will be my final answer. A equals 61.6 kilometers squared. And that is the area of that trapezoid. Now I want you to turn the page. We're going to be working on the last portion of this section. And this section is on finding a missing side length. We're going to find a missing side length here. To find a missing side length, we are going to be given its area. It's written down here on the bottom of every problem. You can look and see area equals, area equals. We're going to be given its area. We need to first write out the formula for the area of the polygon. We need to identify what kind of polygon it is, trapezoid, parallelogram, and write out the formula for the area of each individually. Once we write out the area formula, we're going to plug all the pieces in. We're going to plug in the area of it and the base and height, and in this case, because it's a trapezoid, base 1 and base 2. And then we're going to solve for the one labeled as question mark. Right here you can see one of the bases is a question mark. Over here I would consider this the height of that parallelogram as a question mark. So we're going to write out the formula for the area of each specific polygon, plug in all the pieces, and then solve for the question mark however way we need to. On this first problem, number 62, this one's pretty tough because my question mark is a base. That's a base of that trapezoid. So I'm first going to notice that this is a trapezoid and then write out the formula for the area of a trapezoid. That's A equals 1/2 times height times base 1 plus base 2. By writing out the formula, it shows me what pieces I need to pull from the problem and plug in. The pieces, as I go from the left to the right, are area, height, and then the two bases, base 1 and base 2. So I need to identify all of those pieces and plug them into that formula. My area is given to me in the problem, 28.6. So I'm going to write that in to the area portion. that area becomes 28.6 equals 1/2 times my height. My height I need to identify. My height connects the two bases. So my height is 5.4. So 1/2 times 5.4 times, in parentheses, we have our base 1 plus base 2. My base 1 is the question mark. Call that base 1. And my base 2 is 2.6. So plus base 2, 2.6. So I write out the formula and plug in every single piece individually. Now that I have this written out, I can begin to solve for the question mark. The question mark right now is right here. So I need to get everything else away from it. That means that I need to look at first this 1/2 times 5.4 and multiply those together. I want to do some of the math right now. So I'm just going to start rewriting the equation. 28.6 I'm not doing anything with, so I'll rewrite it, equals, now 1/2 times 5.4. Half of 5.4 is 2.7. So I just did this piece in the orange. 1/2 times 5.4 is 2.7. And then in parentheses I still have question mark plus 2.6. Haven't done anything with that yet. Now I need to start getting this question mark more by itself, so I'm going to take this 2.7, it's multiplying the parentheses, and to get rid of it, I'm going to divide by 2.7. I can go to my calculator to solve that. I don't know too many people that can do it in their head. 28.6 divided by 2.7 equals 10.59, which is about 10.6. So we're going to write that as 10.6 equals question mark plus 2.6. Notice how this piece right here, 2.7, is gone. We divided it to the other side. So now I have this equation, 10.6 equals question mark plus 2.6. To get rid of that 2.6, because it's adding, I need to do the opposite of adding, which is subtract 2.6 to both sides. Positive 2.6 minus 2.6 cancels each other out. And we have 10.6 minus 2.6, which is 8, equals our question mark, and that is the missing side. That base up here, this question mark, is 8. Now trapezoids are the hardest polygons to find a missing measurement from, so we're going to do just one easy one just to see. Number 64 is a parallelogram. So there's two pieces out of the parallelogram formula we need. The area of the parallelogram is base times height. So we need to find the area, a base, and a height, and plug all three in. My area is written as 32.8, so this area will become 32.8 equals my base, which I'll write as 6.3, times my height, which is the question mark. So I have this equation, 32.8 equals 6.3 times question mark. I want to solve for the question mark, so I'm going to get rid of whatever's attached. Right now, 6.3 is attached, so I'm going to divide by 6.3 to both sides. And in my calculator, I can type in 32.8 divided by 6.3 equals 5.20. That's going to stay as 5.2. So we have 5.2 equals question mark, and because the question mark is by itself, the problem is done.